Hey, everybody, welcome back. And we're so happy to have you here on Her Rules, Her Rise podcast, where we speak bold truth and sacred love. And as always, my lovely co hosts, Dr. May Lee and Danielle Ditburner, are here with me. And this is an exciting episode that this is one thing that I have really taken a hold of, and it's the power of women together. And obviously, the three of us, that's kind of how we are operating with all of this, and that we recognize that when we join together as women, we can support each other and actually get a lot more done and really be able to build up to our own strengths and not just limiting ourselves to what we think other people want us to do. So I think that's one of the big pieces about the power of women together. I think when I first experienced the strength of women coming together early on I played basketball. I was a cheerleader and I did synchronized swimming. My mom actually was a swim coach and she had done synchronized swimming. We loved Esther Williams, would love watching those old movies, if anybody remembers them. And so yeah, synchronized swimming. And so I was always a part of a team, and being able to get things done when you all work together was really powerful. That kind of for early on was something for me. And, as an adult, as I've gotten into different positions that I work in schools a lot. So there are a lot of female dominated positions. It's a female dominated field, yet there's still a lot of men that are in power positions within education. And again, it's nothing against men. It's just that sometimes we bring our own baggage to those situations and we may not feel as comfortable leading. That doesn't mean the men are doing anything to prevent it. Sometimes they are. And I've seen women do the same thing. And so, in my work that I've done, like right now, I'm working in schools in Loudoun County in Virginia, and just working with a lot of females and males. But a few people that I work with, so Chrissy Welgan, and then I have two of our friends from the United Arab Emirates. And the four of us actually, well, five of us actually all got together and we did a presentation last year at the Association for Behavior Analysis International Conference. So here we are connecting via Zoom and all of us doing our own pieces, yet coming together via Zoom to then deliver this presentation live. And, again, here we are, women from all over the world being able to really focus on what can we do together and talking about how, especially in schools, how do we lead with compassion? And that, I think, when we talk about leadership, we often think of the technical aspects of leadership, which is being a manager and being, someone in charge. That's what we think of as leadership. But there's another aspect of leadership that is the adaptive part. And that is where the relationships come in. And to me, when I am able to use those skills as a woman or just as someone who is focused on building relationships, that has a much greater impact than if I'm just focusing on kind of those leadership things. Let me get through the checklist. Again, I'm in classrooms where kids are having serious behavior problems. And if I was only focused on this checklist of getting things done, they would be kicking me out of the classroom.
Mhm.
And, I've had yesterday, the teacher said to me, she's like, "You're my backbone." And it's like, because the last couple of weeks have been really challenging. And so, and giving them permission, like, you don't have to be, it's okay to have fun. Like, you should have fun, And so I think as a leader, that's one of the things that what we can do as women, again, is always kind of support each other in that because we put way too many high expectations on ourselves. So, so we're going to look at this a little deeper in terms of what happens when women unite and why it matters, what does it create and how it changes the world. So, so first we're going to start off with why women need each other. So, again, historically, women have, like, we actually are natural gatherers and connectors and community builders. Again, those adaptive skills, that's something that we already do. And so, I've shared how when I am connected with a group of women, whatever their skills are or specialties, that the support is really beyond what I could have done on my own. It just is something that I feel like I'm able to push through things that I wouldn't have been able to push through in the past. And historically, again, women have not always been in positions to lead. We couldn't vote for a long time. We couldn't own property. It was, really challenging for women in general and being in leadership positions. And, as we talked previously, that we were always trying to prove ourselves.
Mm.
So as we, really kind of get into this discussion, I want you to think about this question is when you have felt the power of women beside you, what does that feel like? And what does it do for you? So, Danielle, let's start with you.
Yeah. I My biggest feeling from it is completely intuitive and empathy based. It is not even really having to communicate. Whenever I'm in a space with women, it is part of our known nature of one another, where you can, especially when we're in a physical space together, you can just feel where another person is. And whether that's biological or if it's has something to do with the connection, or maybe it's all of the above. But there's something about being able to understand what another person's needs are, where that person has been, and being able to kind of listen to that intuition and that instinct of how you yourself can show up in greater support of another. And by doing that, that's also serving yourself too. So there's this very reciprocal, loving nature
Mhm.
of whenever I'm in the company of other women, that I feel held and that I can also hold.
Yeah. I love that. That is so powerful. It is. It's that give and take.
Mhm.
Kind of what I'm hearing is that it's a dance that women have, yet that can make us all stronger. And that we have to, I think, even from what you said, it's yes, giving and receiving. It
Mhm.
can't be either or. It has to be the both. So
Mhm.
that's so powerful. May, what are your
Yeah,
thoughts?
yeah, definitely. I also think if you've been in sports as a woman, you learn to work as a team, um, and you learn to work that camaraderie between each other. But I also, on the flip side of that, I grew up with more of a solo competitor type of mentality. And
Mhm.
then I also had a mother who I think in some ways I felt like I had to compete with her or submit to her. So in
Mhm.
spite of that, I have formed beautiful friendships with women and I really treasure them. But then I do wonder, like as women start to grow into leadership positions, how do you differentiate between gathering that sisterhood, being one of them,
Mm,
versus becoming a leader and stepping ahead and not feeling like you're better than them? So
mm.
that's kind of what comes to my mind, especially in the corporate world too. Women, how do you gain that respect and leadership and how's it different from how men do it? So I'm sorry, I just kind of jumped to another
No,
question.
no, no, that's perfect. And, what you said, May, is just so powerful because, you know, you're exactly right. That competition that
Yeah,
we can be our best friends and we can also be our worst enemies.
exactly.
I've definitely have had situations where women were, I mean, nasty. And it's kind of
Yeah,
like, okay, it's hard to know what to do with that. And
exactly.
so when that shows up, um,
It's
can be cutthroat.
Yeah.
Especially if you
Yeah.
have a sibling too. I've seen situations where women, their sister, they just one of them was the chosen one, and one of them had to be in her shadow her whole life. And
Yeah.
it's so painful.
Yeah.
How do you thrive in, how do you overcome that so that
Hmm.
you feel like you have your turn to shine and you don't have to take a back seat to someone else?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I actually have three sisters, and thank God they have been amazing. Like I couldn't, I
And
wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for my sisters. And even
right.
now, we're planning a family reunion in a couple weeks, and it's like, we lost one of our sisters, unfortunately,
Oh,
24 years ago now, and so the other two, I'm very, very close to, and we kind of are always texting each other, and being able to tag team and fill in gaps, and we each have special, like we each have gifts, and so we're able to do, use our gifts. So it's really, and I owe that to my mom. Our mom was phenomenal. Like she never
that's
fostered that. And I think that's a key.
that's
Um,
it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And we never, I don't remember any competition with us, with the
Right.
sisters. Now the brothers, a different story, you know, but the women, the sisters, we did not have that. And I think that's such an important thing.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think that's key.
You
So
know,
that breaking that lie of competition. Go ahead,
yeah,
Danielle.
yeah. It's interesting because I will say that again, I'm very fortunate in the sisterhood that I've had with my blood sister, starting with like, we have such a great bond. We are best friends. Have we had hardships and rough times between us? Sure. But that also comes back to the communication that we've always had, where we can talk to each other and we make sure that we talk to each other. And that has been a theme through my life, is that open, honest, radical honesty that I can have specifically with the women in my life. And I would say, even as the communal um, kind of dynamic and foundation for me as well. I grew up doing gymnastics, and that my team, that was my secondary family.
Mhm.
And, it was all girls. And we started, from a young age, and we grew the team and the organization itself. And so, again, even though there was competition there, it was that there was this awareness of this is an individual sport that's also team driven, because all of our scores, all of our successes work together to bolster up the team as a whole.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, there was something in the water, right? Of that is just how it was framed, is that we can be competitive, but at the end of the day, it is about community and it
Mhm.
is about lifting one another up. And so that's been a way that I've just formed all of my relationships with people. And I have had times where there's been harsh competitiveness with other women. And in those moments, when I notice that there is a breakdown in communication or there is some of that cattiness that goes on, that's
Mhm.
typically where I uphold a boundary of my own and just say, I can deal with this person with kindness,
Mhm.
and that doesn't mean that we're going to have a tight-knit relationship. And this
Mhm.
is where I just need to create space for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so, again, so true and powerful that, it's coming back to those boundaries that we talked about previously, in that,
Mhm.
unless we know what we're okay with and what we're not okay with, and whether things are aligning to our values, it's hard for us to sometimes break down those walls of competition. It's kind of this is that self-reflection. We need to know what our strengths and areas of growth are so that we can then create our boundaries, which then helps us be better at collaborating. And sometimes, we need to shift,
Yeah.
we need to shift. So,
Yeah. Hey,
yeah,
I want to jump in for a second.
yeah,
Just because this is an irk that I have,
yeah,
can we shift from using the word collaborating to co-creating?
yeah.
Beautiful word.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Because the base of collaboration is I am going to work with an adversary,
Oh,
somebody that is not on my team,
wow.
somebody that I'm
Hmm.
working that our values aren't aligned, that we have differences, and I'm going to collaborate with them to have some kind of a joint effort or a joint solution, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're on the same team.
Yeah.
Whereas
Wow.
co-creation means we're already aligned, we're on the same team, and it's coming together to create something else that's even better.
Yeah.
That's powerful.
That is really powerful. I had not heard that previously about collaboration.
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
is that is great.
Co-creating.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So, as we're kind of thinking about this, let's think about what are some practical tools that we can, again, create that authentic connection with women.
Mhm.
One example I think of is that active listening, and we try to all do that on here. It's reflecting back. This is what I heard you say,
Mhm.
and that's a big one. And I feel like you two are both excellent at doing that. And one thing I love kind of in my role, I love, when I'm working with teachers to kind of really encourage them and point out the things that they're doing well, because it's so easy to get into that negative mindset of, oh, I suck, you know? And so one thing that I often do, like in meetings or coaching, whatever, I talk about three glows to one grow. So it's not a weakness, it's an area for growth. So what are three positive things that you did, that you experienced in this past week? And what is one area that you want to grow in? And just using that tool can help kind of settle things when people are anxious. And I'm in classrooms where teachers are anxious. They're afraid for their own safety because if kids are being more physically aggressive. And so, having that area to kind of a way to get them to calm down, I think is key. And using brain breaks and really kind of, and also being present. Like we need to be present when we're with people. And I think that alone, be fully present with people, that alone has a big impact on how we can again kind of create that authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dr. Payne, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful. Especially I like your thing with the three glows and one grow.
Mm,
Um, and also I think we get so caught up with getting in our heads and everything we have to be get done and look good and get our, make sure everything's the way it should be ideally. And we forget to connect with people. We forget to sit there and be calm and peaceful and just validate who they are, where they are,
yeah,
Mm.
and ourselves too, right? So
Mhm.
that reminder is really good.
yeah,
Mm.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to piggyback off of the validation piece. I think the third piece of that, listening, validating,
Mm,
checking in to see what another person needs.
Right.
I I know for myself
Right.
and for a lot of other women that when we ask or when we're even looking at what our needs are, that can be a really tough thing because if we're always looking externally and showing up for others or doing all of the things, our needs can be put by the wayside.
mhm,
And so especially in those moments when we see our teammates, our sisters
Hmm.
Doing it.
struggling.
Hmm.
Yeah, just leaning in and saying, what is it that you need? Whether you step in and actually help fulfill that need doesn't
Hmm.
really matter. It's more of being that mirror for someone else to just take that pause and say, oh, yeah, let me check in with myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And to
That's
be able to
powerful.
have their back, like your teammate may be faltering for something, stress or something going on, you step in and you stand for them, because you know how they feel. Like the two of you said, May, you need to take a vacation, you need to take that time off. And I'm
Yeah.
feeling so guilty about it, but that's what a really good, strong team does. They can cover for that person just when they're having a slightly down day.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Stand for them and then
Yep.
speak for them too in a very supportive way, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
And I think the other key piece is that being vulnerable, you know, sharing our truths and saying, hey, I'm struggling with this, and not being afraid, which kind of, we're going to talk more about psychological safety in a few weeks, or actually next week. And so it's about, again, feeling safe to share who you are, your hurts and your positives. It's all of it, and being able to show up completely. And it's that authenticity and vulnerability that is a strength. And a lot of times it's looked at as a weakness.
Yeah.
Um, so, again, we've talked about authenticity and just really being present and really being able to allow each other to come in and backing each other up. Again, filling in gaps are some of the key things that we've been talking about today. Uh, I want you to, so as we're kind of wrapping up here, what is, you know, what is one key takeaway that you have? Like one piece of advice that you would really want to give to support other women right now? Like what would you recommend and what are you going to do for yourself?
Mm. My big one is the moment that you notice yourself going, "Ugh, feel really overwhelmed, but I've got this. I can do this."
Mhm.
Take that opportunity to reach out to someone else.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have to do it all yourself. You do not have to be Superwoman or
Mhm.
Superman.
Yeah.
You can reach out to your team, your support system,
Mhm.
even if they can't necessarily help with you. It can just help
Mhm.
knowing that somebody has your back.
Yeah.
Somebody knows that you're going through something.
Yeah. And someone being able to kind of reflect back and just let you vent about something,
Mhm.
exactly what you said is, and that's so powerful.
Mhm.
May, what
Well,
are your thoughts on that one?
well, I'm thinking more in terms of like moving up into leadership roles and how too many times women kind of they're so humble, right? And then
Mhm.
they're kind of like take a chance, you admire their dress or something. Oh, I got it secondhand, or
Mhm.
all these things to put themselves into a lower position. And how do you got to work against that if you want to stand up and be a leader? How do you
Mhm.
do that, right? Because people will agree with you at whatever level you want to put yourself. I think they're going to accept you at
Yeah.
that level. So how do you get a mentor or someone to keep you from falling back and being
Mhm.
in this club of women who are just being humble and, you know,
Yeah.
how do you rise up,
Yeah.
up level yourself, bring the women with you and not be pulled back down is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think it takes constant mindset work. Like you need to posture yourself. You
Mhm.
need to think about what are you doing to self-efface, what are you doing to put yourself down and don't do that, right? You need to walk the walk and gain the respect. Women have to prove it, first of all.
Mhm.
Men somehow they get to, put in positions of authority, and they have that. Once they're put there, they have to prove that they can't otherwise. But women, I think, have to prove it first before they can claim it. I think there's
Mhm.
that. So I guess my advice is we need to uplift each other, but we also need to keep ourselves going in case the women around us are not quite aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's that letting them know they're not alone,
Yeah.
and reaching out. That's such a huge piece. And so, for all you listeners today, we want to encourage you to reach out to another woman today. If it's if it's again, if you're a man, if you're non-binary, whatever that is, reach out to someone you feel comfortable with and remind them that they're not alone, right? Because it's sometimes difficult for us to ask. And sometimes if we just offer that and say, hey, I just want to let you know you're not alone. They don't even have to say anything as to what's going on. It's just that you're doing that. So that's the call to action today. So our next episode, which is episode 12, we're going to be getting into psychological safety in depth. And it's kind of really underpins a lot of the conversations that we've been having is that if you feel safe to be able to share your truth, that's what psychological safety is. And to be able to be vulnerable in an environment. And so join me and my two lovely co-hosts, Dr. May Lee and Danielle Dipburner. We are three voices, one mission to heal, lead, and live fully without apology. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Bye.